You might feel like you are losing your mind. It starts as a tremor in your hands or a sudden, terrifying inability to breathe in a quiet room. You feel a chaos rising within you that threatens to dismantle everything you are. Society calls this a nervous breakdown. It views this collapse as a random error, a malfunction of a broken brain that needs to be sedated back into silence. You are told you are sick, that your chemistry is off, and that you must return to normal. But what if this collapse is not a mistake? What if this terrifying fragmentation is actually a desperate bio-spiritual attempt by your psyche to save your life? This is not a random failure. It is a calculated demolition of a house that can no longer stand. The madness you fear is often the breaking of a dam. It is the violent release of decades of repressed truth, trauma, and identity that you were forced to hide. It is your soul screaming the words you were never allowed to whisper. Before we continue to explore the psychology behind this, please take a moment to subscribe. It helps us build this community and brings more insights directly to you. Number 1. We must look at the cost of your silence through the lens of allostatic load. In psychology, this term refers to the cumulative wear and tear on your body caused by chronic stress management. It is the biological bill for everything you hide. The brain uses 2 methods to handle pain: repression and suppression. Repression is automatic. You don't even know you're doing it. But suppression is conscious. It is the active holding back of tears, anger, or fear to survive a boardroom meeting or a family dinner. Imagine holding a beach ball underwater. For a minute, it is easy. But holding it down for 20 years requires a massive, continuous expenditure of energy. This is a metabolic tax. Your body is in a state of internal siege, fighting itself to keep the facade intact. A nervous breakdown occurs when you go bankrupt. Your organism simply runs out of the energy required to keep the beach ball submerged. The explosion isn't a sign of weakness, it is a somatic strike. Your body is refusing to continue the lie. Number 2, we must understand the biological haunting known as adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs. This is the scientific measure of the trauma encoded into your developing brain before you had the language to speak it. If you grew up in a chaotic home, your brain did not develop in peacetime. It developed in a war zone. Chronic exposure to stress hormones like cortisol altered the architecture of your amygdala, the brain's fear center. You were wired for threat detection. You might be sitting in a safe coffee shop today, but your biology is still patrolling the dangerous living room of your childhood. You are not crazy for feeling panic in a calm moment. You are a combat veteran of a war no one else saw. This hypersensitivity is an adaptive survival strategy. It kept you alive when you were small and powerless. The breakdown happens because this wartime software is finally crashing the hardware of your adult life. It is a mismatch, not a malfunction. Number 3, this mismatch often manifests as complex PTSD and the phenomenon of the emotional flashback. Unlike standard PTSD, which involves visual memories, CPTSD is a haunting of feeling. It disrupts your sense of time. In an emotional flashback, you do not see the past, you become the past. You are suddenly hijacked by an overwhelming sense of abandonment, terror, or shame that matches the intensity of the abused child, even if nothing is happening now. Imagine you are 40 years old, but suddenly you feel 4 years old, small, and utterly helpless. You cannot explain why you are crying on the kitchen floor. The intensity of the emotion feels psychotic because it does not match the present reality. This is not madness. This is memory without a timeline. Your psyche is dissolving the barrier between then and now because the wound demands to be cleaned. You are not losing your mind. You are finding the lost feelings of the child you once were. Number 4. We must explore the Jungian concept of Enantiodromia. Carl Jung used this term to describe the tendency of things to turn into their opposites. It is the mechanism of the pendulum swinging back with vengeance. If you have spent your life forcing yourself into a rigid mold, the perfect mother, the stoic professional, the nice guy, you have created a massive shadow. The shadow contains everything you rejected to fit in: your rage, your selfishness, and your wildness. The breakdown is the Enantiodromia. The pendulum snaps. The quiet person becomes violent. The rationalist becomes delusional. The not me invades the me. The shadow forces its way to the surface because it refuses to be silenced any longer. This feels like a hostile takeover, but it is actually a quest for wholeness. Your psyche is trying to integrate the parts of you that were exiled. The monster you fear is just the unloved part of yourself breaking down the door to come home. Number 5. We must examine your role as the identified patient. In family systems theory, this is the person who becomes the symptom bearer for the entire dysfunctional group. The sick one is often the most sensitive one. Families often project their collective shadows onto one person. If a family refuses to acknowledge its grief or abuse, one child will often act it out. You become the vessel for the family's toxins. You go crazy so they can pretend to be normal. Imagine you are the pressure valve on a steam engine. When the pressure gets too high, you blow. The family points at you and says you are broken, ignoring the fact that you saved the whole machine from exploding. Your breakdown is often the moment you shatter the vessel. You stop carrying the secrets. This is terrifying because it threatens your belonging, but it is the first step toward autonomy. You are rejecting the role of the sacrificial lamb. Number 6. We must consider the perspective of anti-psychiatry and the spiritual emergency. Psychiatrist R.D. Laing argued that madness is often a rational adjustment to an insane world, a voyage into inner space. Sometimes, a breakdown is a spiritual emergency, a play on the word emergence. It is a crisis of transformation where the old ego dies to make room for a larger, more authentic self. It is the dark night of the soul. Joseph Campbell famously noted the difference between the mystic and the psychotic. He said the mystic swims in the same waters that the psychotic drowns in. The imagery, the intensity, and the depth are the same. The difference is the ability to navigate. Your crisis is an invitation to learn how to swim. The medical model wants to dry up the ocean with medication. The integrated approach wants to give you a map and a raft. You are drowning because you are deep, not because you are defective. Number 7. To heal, we must use the principle of titration. In chemistry, titration is the careful, drop-by-drop addition of a volatile substance. In trauma therapy, it means processing your pain in small, manageable doses. The mistake many make is trying to fix the breakdown by diving into the trauma too fast. This causes re-traumatization. Your nervous system is already overwhelmed. It cannot handle a flood. It needs a trickle. We use a technique called pendulation. You touch the pain for a second, then immediately shift your focus to a place in your body that feels safe or neutral. You swing between the stress and the safety, teaching your body it can return to calm. This restores the natural rhythm of your nervous system. You are not exorcising the darkness. You are building the capacity to hold it. You are slowly widening your window of tolerance until the madness becomes manageable memory. Number 8. We arrive at the integration of the shadow. This is the work of internal family systems, or IFS. We stop fighting the symptoms and start interviewing them. We treat the crazy parts as protectors, not enemies. You ask the paranoia, "What are you trying to protect me from?" It might answer, I make you suspicious, so you never get hurt like you did when you were 5. You validate its intent. You thank the guard dog for barking, even if there is no burglar. By honoring the protective function of your symptoms, you end the internal war. The energy that was used to fuel the breakdown is liberated. It becomes available for creativity, for connection, for life. This is the ultimate realization. You do not need to be fixed because you were never broken. You were protected. Your system worked exactly as it was designed to, surviving an impossible situation until it was safe enough to collapse. The breakdown is the end of the false self. It is a brutal, terrifying gift. It burns down the forest so that new seeds can grow. You will not go back to who you were before, and that is the point. You are becoming who you are. If you feel this video helped you understand yourself better, please subscribe to our channel. Your support allows us to keep exploring the depths of the human mind.